In the previous life, I was saved from drowning by Sam. After marrying him, he was always cold and distant toward me. I took care of the household, looked after my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and even worked in the fields while pregnant with his child to support his schooling. My father died saving Sam from a wild boar, and my mother passed away from the grief. Sam's attitude toward me improved after that, and I thought that my hardships were finally over. But in my later years, he asked for a divorce. Even my children advised me to be understanding, to let their father pursue true love. When I saw Sam and Lisa's hands tightly clasped together, their eyes speaking of their love for each other, after all the blows I had endured, I spat out a mouthful of blood. When I opened my eyes again, I was back before I fell into the water. Chapter 1. Looking at the classroom that I had longed to return to countless times in my dreams, I couldn't help but feel a pang in my nose. In my past life, I was one of the top students in my class. Even Sam couldn't match me. But after marrying him, on the day of the college entrance exam, I mysteriously got food poisoning and missed the exam. Shortly after, despite taking precautions, I found myself pregnant. Under the repeated persuasion of Sam's family, I had no choice but to give up on the exam. Even while pregnant, I worked in the fields to earn work points, supporting Sam and his younger sister Elena's schooling. When it rains, it pours. Soon after, my father died saving Sam from a wild boar, and my mother passed away from the grief. My older brother became distant, went south to work, and never returned. Seeing that I had become an orphan, Sam's family shamelessly moved into my house, and I became their hardworking, self-sacrificing old ox. I supported Sam through college until he became a university professor. Yet, he found me vulgar, uneducated, and felt we had no common ground. He would criticize me for being obsessed with small things like calculating the cost of groceries, talking about nothing but oil, salt, and vinegar, and household gossip, so crude and unbearable. I endured his disdain for half my life until one day, while cleaning, I couldn't resist opening the box I once dared not touch. That's when I realized how laughable my life had been. It turned out that Sam had been with Lisa all along. He'd even taken money from me to pay for her college tuition. No wonder he always complained about the high cost of living in the capital, how money was tight, and how I couldn't find a formal job. I had to work desperately washing dishes, saving every penny. My hands cracked and became frostbitten from the winter cold, but I couldn't even afford to buy a bottle of clam oil. Meanwhile, they spent my hard-earned money, and Sam, in his letters, looked down on me, blaming me for breaking them up. Even my children had known about their affair long ago and had helped cover it up for them. I felt numb all over, trembling as I dialed Sam's number. My throat tightened, and for a moment, I couldn't speak. Sam, impatient, was about to hang up, but I hurriedly spoke. I know about you and Lisa. That's good. There's nothing to hide from you. I couldn't understand how someone could be so shameless. My heart ached, almost suffocating. I wanted to go to the hospital, but my son just looked at me with complex eyes. Mom, don't make a scene. If you hadn't deliberately fallen into the lake, Dad would never have married you. You wasted his whole life. You're not happy, so why bother? Chapter 2. Did I intentionally fall into the lake? Back then, I had liked Sam, but after he rejected me, I gave up on him. When he saved me from the lake and, for the sake of appearances, was forced to marry me, I felt guilty for the rest of my life. I always wanted to make it up to him. I explained to Sam that it was just an accident and that I didn't even know he was nearby. But I never expected that he never believed me. Later, Sam brought Lisa into our home. Lisa was older, but she looked like she was 20 years younger than me. Her hair was neatly styled, a pearl hairpin in her hair, and she wore fashionable leather shoes. As for me, I had toiled all my life. My face was weathered with the hardships of time, and I wore a pair of shoes that had been washed until they were almost white. I was holding a diaper I had just changed for my grandson. The contrast was stark, and I felt utterly defeated. Sam looked at me with disdain and said that since we weren't officially married, I could stay here with our son, but he would live with Lisa. He told me that after today, we would be officially separated. My son and daughter, whom I had raised with so much hardship, and the daughter-in-law I had spent my life savings to bring into our family. Both stood by Lisa's side as if they were the real family. They impatiently urged me to let Sam go, to stop clinging to him, and to set him free. In the face of such immense disappointment, sorrow, and resentment, I collapsed, spitting blood and losing consciousness. I saw the 2 sweet potatoes in my bag, and my memories slowly returned. How wonderful! The heavens had given me a second chance. This time, I would never marry Sam again. I looked at the classmates in the room. The memories were so distant that I couldn't even remember their names. In my previous life, most of them had successful careers, but I was stuck at home, unable to even attend a class reunion because my son Luis had returned the dress I bought for the occasion. He didn't want me to embarrass his father. But this time, it would be different. Emma, why are you still dazed? Sam hasn't eaten yet. Why don't you hurry and take it to him? The class is about to start. Monica, my desk mate, called out to me. I was stunned for a moment, then finally came back to my senses. Chapter 3. Back then, the village was 10 miles away from the school, and the cafeteria was expensive. Most people brought their own food and would return home after classes in the evening for a meal. We only ate twice a day. If you didn't eat the morning meal, it was impossible to survive the day, and you certainly wouldn't have the energy to study. Even though Sam had made it clear that he didn't like me, I felt sorry for him. He often skipped breakfast and would get so dizzy from hunger, so I would save some of my own breakfast for him and eat only a little. As a result, I developed a stomach problem. In the later years of my life, when I could finally eat to my fill, I couldn't indulge in oily, fatty foods and could only watch them. Sam lifted his head from the desk and coldly glanced at Monica and me. I'm fine, I won't eat. But I saw him clutching his stomach with his brows furrowed, clearly trying to suppress his discomfort. In my past life, it was precisely this tough exterior of his that attracted me. In a time when everyone was struggling to get enough food, I practically begged him to eat most of my breakfast. Afterward, Sam would always act like he didn't want to owe me anything, saying that he would repay me with food later. But he never did. It was all talk, and he never actually returned anything. I must have been crazy in my past life. How could I find someone so hypocritical attractive? Seeing Sam's pitiful expression, I didn't even want to give him a glance. Now, just looking at his face disgusted me. I turned my back, peeled the sweet potato, and took a big bite. Even though it was cold, it still tasted so good and filled me up. In no time, I finished both sweet potatoes. When Sam saw that I wouldn't give him any, his face darkened significantly. Sam looked at me in confusion, but I ignored him, quickly flipping through my textbook. Thankfully, even though it had been many years, not being able to attend college had always been a regret in my heart. In my previous life, I secretly used my children's textbooks to study and solidify my knowledge. If I hadn't been so burdened by family responsibilities and time constraints, I would have earned my degree a long time ago. Even if it was just through self-study, the knowledge wasn't unfamiliar to me now. With only half a year left until the college entrance exam, I was confident that this time I would get into the university I wanted. I would shine and contribute to my country. After class, I quickly packed up and rushed home. In my previous life, if it weren't for Sam, my parents wouldn't have died. But now, they were still alive. They were the people who loved me the most. After they passed, even though my hands were covered in frostbite, no one ever asked if it hurt. I would never let anything happen to them again. Chapter 4. I was deep in thought when I lifted my head and saw Sam not far ahead. He was bent over in pain, as though he was struggling to endure something. Not my problem. I coldly glanced at him and was about to walk around, but Sam stretched out his hand and blocked my way. Move. The scenes of Sam betraying me, rejecting me, and being manipulated by his mother played repeatedly in my mind. When I looked at Sam, I couldn't hide my disgust for him. Emma, what's wrong? Why have you suddenly become so hateful toward me? Sam took a step closer, pressing me further. I immediately stepped back to stop him. Stay away from me, or I'll report you for harassment. At my words, Sam was stunned, his face full of hurt, looking as though he wanted to say something but couldn't. I couldn't be bothered with him. I was about to leave when I suddenly heard a voice filled with grievance from behind. Emma, I'm hungry. If you're hungry, go home and find Mom, I said coldly, without looking back. When I got home and saw my mom busy in the kitchen and my dad just back from work, holding a large bowl and drinking water, my rebirth finally felt real. My mom was startled by my actions, thinking something had happened to me at school. After some questioning, I told her I was just happy because I thought I might be able to get into college, and I cried out of joy. In the next few days, I didn't acknowledge Sam at school. I made it clear that I was cutting ties with him. Before, Sam used to bring half a flatbread to school, but ever since I gave him my breakfast, he never brought anything again. These past few days, maybe he didn't believe I would suddenly change. He thought I was doing something to get his attention, so he didn't bring any breakfast, which caused him to faint from hunger during class. I just coldly watched. After hearing that Sam had fainted from hunger, Monica criticized me for not continuing to bring him food. I don't owe him anything. If you feel sorry for him, you can give him your food. Monica didn't say anything more. After class, I still walked away from Sam. In my past life, he always trailed behind me from a distance. But today, there was no sign of him behind me. A sudden realization hit me. Today was the day in my past life when Sam saved me from drowning. I almost forgot about this crucial moment. Ahead of me was a near vertical hillside. As you descended, you could only grab onto the tree branches on either side, using them to carefully make your way down. If you weren't careful, you would fall. Below, a narrow path led to a very deep lake. There were other routes to the village, but if I wanted to avoid this one, it would probably be dark by the time I got home. I clenched my fists, silently vowing that this time, I would not make the same mistake. Just as I was about to head downhill, I suddenly saw someone walking toward me from a distance. Chapter 5. She looked younger, her eyes brighter. It was Lisa. She was no longer the Lisa I had seen in my later years, all dressed up and looking at me with disdain and smugness. Now, she was a countryside intellectual, her face as darkened by the sun as mine, with a thin back and pale yellow complexion, looking haggard and worn. In my past life, she blamed me for breaking up her relationship with Sam. So this time, I would fulfill her wishes. Although I wasn't sure if Lisa would fall into the water, my right eye was twitching uncontrollably, and my intuition told me that my fall in the past wasn't a simple accident. I would soon find out. I quickly found a place to hide and waited to watch. It wasn't long before Lisa reached the slope and began climbing down, gripping onto the branches. I waited for a while, but nothing happened, and I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Could it be that in my past life, I was just unlucky? I had walked this path so many times, so why did I fall that one day? Just as I was thinking this, I suddenly heard a gasp, followed by the sound of something heavy splashing into the water. I stood on the slope and looked down, seeing Lisa struggling in the water, while Sam stood on the other side of the lake. As soon as he heard the splash, he immediately jumped in and swam towards the sound. Sure enough, in my past life, it wasn't an accident. I was set up by Sam. At that time, I had already confessed my feelings to Sam, telling him that I liked him, but he rejected me on the surface while secretly setting up this trap to make me feel guilty, controlling me for the rest of my life. His mother had never treated me kindly either. If it weren't for saving you, my son wouldn't have married such a disaster. Now he's a professor, and so many city girls are after him. Who knows how many lifetimes of good fortune you must have had to marry into my family and enjoy life. My heart boiled with hatred, and without realizing it, I had bitten my lip until it bled. This time, I wouldn't let them get away with it. I was waiting to see their downfall. As soon as Sam pulled Lisa out of the water, his mother, along with a group of people, came to watch the spectacle. I saw a patch of mushrooms here yesterday, but today they're all gone. I wonder which little brat picked them all. Oh, my, someone fell into the water. Let's go see. Chapter 6. In my past life, I was the one who was saved. I was in Sam's arms, barely clothed, and the scene was witnessed by everyone. In less than half a day, it spread throughout the entire village. In this life, I stayed out of it and quietly watched the spectacle from the slope. with my sharp eyes. I saw that when Sam realized the person struggling in the water was Lisa. He froze for a moment, but quickly, he snapped out of it, and after a brief hesitation, he took advantage of the situation and unbuttoned her clothes while Lisa wasn't paying attention. I blinked. In the letter Sam had written to Lisa in my past life, he said that he had liked her since high school, but because of his family situation, he didn't dare confess. Later, he ended up marrying me because I clung to him after he saved me. Now, it seemed like he wasn't planning to drain my resources, and was taking advantage of the opportunity to be with the woman he truly loved. But the next moment, Lisa suddenly pushed Sam away. "Who asked you to save me?" Fake kindness. Lisa quickly covered her clothes, and after saying those words, she scrambled up and ran away. Sam's mother, realizing they had saved the wrong person, didn't shout like she did in the past life. But with so many people witnessing it, the fact that Sam had held Lisa in his arms after she fell into the water soon spread throughout the village. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking I would be waiting for news of Sam and Lisa's wedding. But to my surprise, even with all the gossip, Lisa still didn't want to marry Sam. Lisa would soon be able to take the college entrance exam. Once she passed, she could return to the city. She didn't want to marry Sam at all. Even though Sam would also take the exam, how could he guarantee he would pass? Although Sam did pass the exam in my past life, Lisa didn't know that. In my past life, after he got into Beijing University, he finally started seeing Lisa, asking her to watch movies with him, buying her bras, and making excuses to ask me for money repeatedly. It seemed that, in my past life, I was the only one who was head over heels in love. Chapter 7. I thought that in this life, Sam and I would have no ties, but I never expected him to still be holding on to me. Today, school was out for the holiday, and I had just finished gathering pig grass when I saw Sam standing at the door to my house. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, and he immediately walked over. "Emma, you're finally back. I've been waiting for you for half the day. What are you waiting for me for?" I didn't want to deal with him, so I just held the pig grass and walked toward the backyard. "Wait, I need to talk to you." Seeing that I ignored him, Sam snatched the pig grass out of my arms, threw it on the ground, and blocked my way. "Emma, didn't you say you liked me before?" I agreed. "As long as your family can support me through college. Once I get my diploma, we can get married." Sam pressed his hands on my shoulders, his brows furrowed, wearing an expression of grievance and seeking approval. I gripped the butcher's knife tightly, trying to resist the impulse to chop off his hand, with a smile that wasn't really a smile. I looked at him. "Sam, do you like me?" When Sam heard this, his expression instantly became much lighter, as if it was just as he expected. He paused for a moment and sighed. "Although I don't like you now, if you persist, I believe that over time, we will develop feelings for each other." Hearing this, the hatred I had for Sam seemed to fade instantly. The pain of being betrayed by him in my past life, all the suffering and compromises I endured to win his approval, all the bitterness now seemed ridiculous. To have endured all that for someone like him wasn't worth it at all. In this new life, my focus should be on my family and my studies. Even the hatred I felt for Sam didn't deserve too much of my attention. Someone like him truly didn't deserve any of it. "Well, Sam, it turns out I don't like you anymore. I hope you can keep at it and stop bothering me from now on." With that, I bent down to pick up the pig grass and was about to leave. "Emma, don't regret it. Once I get into college and find a good job, if you come back to beg me, it will be too late." Chapter 8. I sneered, not responding. "Emma, don't get too greedy. I admit, these days, your ignoring me has made me pay more attention to you. But now I've given you a chance. Do you really need to see me marry Lisa before you stop acting like this?" Sam was already getting frustrated. Perhaps in my past life, I had given him too much confidence, making him think I was desperate for him. "Lisa would even look at you? Stop dreaming." I turned around, looking at him with disbelief. "Fine, when I marry her, you can just wait and cry." With those words, Sam stormed off. Marriage. Sure, two selfish people should be tied together. In this life, without me letting them feed off me, I'll see what kind of life they can have. "Emma, you're wrong here. I need to talk to you. Sam's such a good boy. Looks good. Does well in school. If it weren't for his family background, why would he look at you? Roxana from next door was counting Sam's qualities on her fingers as she lectured me. It seemed like she had overheard our conversation. Roxana and my family didn't get along in my past life. After Sam's family moved here, she stirred up trouble, getting his mother to set rules for me, making my life miserable. I replied coldly, "Don't worry about it. And by the way, my grades are much better than his. A girl's good grades won't help. You'll still have to get married and have kids in the end. A man is your support. If you miss Sam, I wonder what kind of ugly man you'll end up with. No matter what, I won't end up worse than you." Roxana's husband was violent, lazy, and often got deductions in his work points. When drunk, he would beat her and the kids, making them scream in pain. My parents couldn't stand it, so they helped her twice. But she mocked us, telling us to stay out of other people's business. Even after being beaten black and blue, Roxana defended her abusive husband, saying that every man hits his wife, and at least hers loved her enough not to kill her. Since my parents never laid a hand on her, Roxana became envious and resentful, directing all her bitterness at my family. Even when she was carrying fertilizer or hauling dung, she would accidentally spill it in front of our house. "You're really asking for it. I'm talking to you, and that's the attitude you give me. You should be calling me aunt by age." This sentence was almost a direct insult. Just as I was about to respond, someone stepped in front of me. "Your mouth is dirtier than a latrine. Do you even deserve to be called aunt? Try insulting my sister again, and see what happens." Seeing the familiar figure in front of me, my eyes watered. It was my older brother. In my past life, after our parents passed away, he and I grew distant. But when they were alive, he always had my back. "Forget it. Don't argue with her. Bro, you must be hungry. I roasted 2 sweet potatoes for you. Go eat. You're the only one who cares about me." My brother smiled and, seeing that I was crying, hurriedly wiped my tears, all while scolding Roxana to get lost. Chapter 9. A month later, Sam and Lisa actually got married. Since they weren't yet of legal age to register, they just held a simple banquet, and Lisa also moved from the commune to live with him. I went to see the commotion, and during the banquet, Lisa was looking at me with a provocative expression that left me feeling confused. Could it be that she also has reincarnated? 2 months later, the long-awaited college entrance exam finally arrived. This time, I was extra careful. I made sure to cover myself with the thickest blanket at night, drank only boiled water instead of tap water, and did everything I could to avoid the mistake I made in my past life when I missed the exam due to food poisoning. Before the exam, Sam unexpectedly came to see me. He was holding Lisa's hand, seemingly trying to show off. They both looked so in love and sweet. Sam even handed me a red egg, asking me to eat it quickly to get some good luck, wishing me success in getting into my desired university. "Come on, eat it. Emma, could it be that you're upset seeing us married and can't eat? I thank you, but you two keep the good stuff for yourselves." I shoved the egg back into Lisa's hand. I didn't want to eat Sam's red egg. It felt weird to me. In my past life, before the college entrance exam, Sam had given me a sweet potato, and later I got food poisoning and was almost too weak to function. It was hard not to suspect that he had something to do with it. He probably did it just to keep me at home, working tirelessly to support him through his schooling. Sam, seeing that I wouldn't eat, tried to provoke me further. Furious, he snatched the egg from Lisa's hand and tried to give it to me again. "Why won't you eat our red egg? Do you really hate to see us happy?" I quickly backed away, like I was dealing with a madman. It was completely irrational. But Sam wasn't pleased. He chased after me, determined to force the egg into my hands. Now, eggs were precious. Could he really be so kind? There must be something sinister about this egg. I wasn't interested in getting caught up in their nonsense. I couldn't believe he was so insistent on making me eat it. Maybe I could take it, find an opportunity, and throw it away. To my surprise, Monica suddenly came running over, seeing us bickering over the egg. She thought we were being overly polite, not holding back. She snatched the egg from Sam's hands, peeled it, and ate it right there. Well, I didn't have enough for breakfast. Since you're not eating it, I'll take it, she finished, not waiting for us to react, and quickly ran off. Sure enough, not long after the exam, Monica's face turned pale. After a loud plop, a stench spread, and she weakly raised her hand, heading for the bathroom. After the exam, Monica cornered me at the door. Her face was drained of color, her eyes full of hatred, demanding an explanation from me. After eating your egg, I couldn't stop having diarrhea. Emma, if you dare to harm me, I'll make sure you fail the exam. The door was surrounded by a crowd of onlookers. I gave a cold smile. Monica, first of all, that egg was one you snatched from my hands. I didn't give it to you willingly. Secondly, if your eyes are working properly, you should be able to tell that it was a red egg, right? It was the egg Sam and Lisa used for their wedding. If you're looking for someone to blame, it should be them, not me. Monica froze for a moment. I knew she had feelings for Sam. In my past life, she had often made things difficult for me because of him. But this time, Sam was already married, and she had been unintentionally harmed by her own actions, ruining her chances at the college entrance exam. I wondered how she would react this time. By the afternoon, I heard that Sam and Lisa had been arrested for poisoning Monica during the college entrance exam. I didn't show any emotion on the outside, but inside, I couldn't help but feel a sense of joy. They had finally gotten what they deserved. When I returned to the village, the news had already spread. Sam and Lisa had put laxatives in the red egg they gave Monica, and both were arrested by the police. In the end, Sam's family paid 30 yuan to apologize to Monica privately, and the matter was settled. After this incident, the reputation of the family was completely ruined. Although Sam's mother had been tough and unreasonable at times, she was a widow, and without being strong, how could she support her family? The villagers had been fairly tolerant of her. But now, with this scandal, whenever people saw any member of the family, they would go out of their way to avoid them. Chapter 10. Well, look at that. Daring to poison someone with laxatives at such a young age. What will they do in the future? Resort to poisoning in any dispute? As for the families who had received the red eggs before, they weren't afraid to eat them. After all, laxatives won't kill you. If they did ingest the laxatives, they could at least get some compensation from Sam's family. 30 yuan is no small sum. Sam's mother had always been so stingy over the years, though she had some savings. Not long ago, Sam and Lisa's wedding cost them quite a bit of money, and then they had to pay the 30 yuan compensation. The remaining money was barely enough for Sam and Elena's schooling. In my previous life, by this time, I had already married Sam. He had paid me 50 yuan as a bride price, but there were no further promises. Originally, my parents and my brother didn't want me to marry him and suffer, but in my past life, I was foolish and insisted on marrying him. My parents couldn't stop me and gave in. After we were married, Sam found an excuse to take back the 50 yuan he had given me. Later, when my parents passed away and my brother left, Sam's family took everything. They took over my family's house, and even the money my parents had hidden away was looted by his mother. In my past life, after marrying me, his family never had to worry about money. While Sam was studying, I worked in the fields while pregnant, and when he became a professor, his salary was low. I had to take the kids and sell goods in the market to make ends meet. Sam was embarrassed and would often throw tantrums because of me selling things in the market, but he never gave me a penny of his salary. If I didn't sell things in the market, how would I survive? Thinking of this, a surge of anger rose in my heart. Sam, just because he didn't get into university, wasn't that bad. In my past life, he destroyed my family. This time, without my support, I wonder how he'll end up when he meets a wild boar again. 2 months later, someone in the village claimed to have found ginseng in the back mountain. It was said to be old and worth over 100 yuan. Suddenly, everyone in the village lost interest in their work. After finishing their tasks, they all rushed to the mountain, hoping for the same luck and to find ginseng too. Chapter 11. In my previous life, Sam was obsessed with striking it rich. He spent every day wandering the back mountain, and when he couldn't find ginseng, he stubbornly ventured deeper, completely forgetting that tigers and wild boars roamed there. At that time, I was already pregnant. My father went into the mountains hoping to catch a pheasant to nourish me. But instead of catching a pheasant, he ran into Sam, who was being chased by a frenzied wild boar. My father ended up losing his life saving him. In this lifetime, I desperately held on to my father, earnestly telling him that I had a dream where he was severely injured by a wild boar on the back mountain. And soon after, he passed away. My mother, overwhelmed by grief, followed him shortly after. As I spoke, memories of my parents' deaths and the torment I endured in Sam's household from my previous life resurfaced vividly. Emotions surged uncontrollably, and I sobbed until my eyes were red and swollen. My father initially intended to hunt for ginseng, but seeing my emotional breakdown, he quickly changed his mind. He solemnly promised me he would stay away, finally easing my anxiety. As for the other villagers, none of them had ventured deep into the mountain in my previous life. Except for Sam. After my father's accident, no one dared to go there casually again. Therefore, I didn't warn the others. After all, if I told them now about a wild boar, who would believe me? Initially, I expected to hear news that Sam had been injured by the boar. But 3 days later, the accident victim turned out to be Roxana's husband from next door. He was killed by the wild boar on the spot while trying to save Sam. It was said the scene was horrific, covered in blood. But I couldn't wrap my head around why Roxana's husband would risk his life for Sam. It didn't make sense. If they really encountered a wild boar, that man might not even save his own child, let alone Sam. When Roxana heard the news, she was utterly stunned. She rushed to Sam's house like a madwoman, causing a huge scene, shouting that Sam had to pay with his life. Sam's mother, despite being sharp-tongued and skilled in arguments, couldn't fight back this time. This was a matter of life and death, and her son had clearly benefited greatly from the situation. So even when Roxana slapped her wildly across the face, she didn't dare to retaliate. Her face was swollen from the beating, but she had no choice but to endure it. Roxana was used to being beaten by her husband, as it was far too common in that era. However, being a widow without a man in the household, with children still too young to support her, made life incredibly difficult. Without a man, a woman would easily become the subject of gossip, and everywhere she went, she faced obstacles. To her, it felt like the sky had collapsed. In the end, Roxana called the police and stopped going to work. She camped outside Sam's house, making a scene for nearly half a month. With her 2 children, she cried and cursed at the top of her lungs every day. When they were hungry, they ate Sam's family's food. Sam's mother had no choice but to grit her teeth and agree to compensate her with 500 yuan. This time, Sam's family was truly penniless. After exhausting their last 20 yuan, they were still in debt by 480 yuan. Forget about sending Sam and Elena to school, just putting food on the table and keeping the family alive became a struggle. Seeing how much debt the family had, Lisa threw a fit and demanded a divorce from Sam. Naturally, Sam's family refused. In the end, Lisa threatened that if they didn't let her leave, she would smash her head against the wall and die. Sam's mother, still furious over the huge amount of money they had to pay, had nowhere to vent her anger. Seeing Lisa acting like this, she lost her temper, jumped up, and slapped Lisa so hard that she fainted. Chapter 12. Not long after, the results of the college entrance exam were released. Early in the morning, my left eyelid wouldn't stop twitching. Not long after, I heard a knock at the door. Standing at the entrance was the village official, his face beaming with joy. The moment he saw me, his smile widened like a blooming flower. In his hands was an acceptance letter from Peking University, a letter I had spent a lifetime dreaming about in my past life, a regret that had haunted me for 60 years. I opened the envelope, and when I saw the name Emma printed on it, an overwhelming sense of sorrow spread through my heart. I had missed this letter for far too long, 60 years too long, an entire lifetime too long. Even now, as I held it in my hands, it felt unreal, as if I couldn't believe it was truly mine. Congratulations, Emma! You're truly remarkable. The first university student from Tupo village. A golden phoenix has finally flown out of this humble nest. You've brought honor to your family, to our entire village. My parents took the acceptance letter and carefully examined it for a long time, their faces filled with excitement and disbelief. Even my eldest brother couldn't hide his emotions. In my past life, he had given up his own opportunity to study so that I could have mine. Yet, I had failed him, betrayed his sacrifice, and indirectly hurt our parents as well. We had grown distant, and in the end, I never even got to see him before I died. This time, I would make things right. Soon, neighbors from all around came to join the excitement. Those who had once called me a useless burden, who said my parents were wasting their money sending me to school, now put on an entirely different face. They showered me with endless praise, smiling as brightly as they could. Some were envious, throwing in sour remarks, while others tried to set me up for matchmaking. Finally, after the crowd dispersed, I put away my acceptance letter and turned to go inside, only to see a familiar, haggard figure standing in the distance. "Emma, you came back too, didn't you?" Sam looked at me with deep emotion, his eyes filled with nostalgia and regret. "Emma, I finally realize now, you were the one most suited for me all along. You got into university too, that's amazing. Once I get in as well, we can go to university together." Seeing my indifference, a flicker of stiffness crossed his face, but he quickly masked it, forcing out a smile. "Emma, why won't you talk to me? If you're willing, I'll divorce Lisa right away. We can hold a wedding banquet first, and once you reach the legal age, we'll get married immediately. How about that?" I chuckled, my face filled with mockery. It seemed that in this life, our roles had reversed. Seeing that Sam was still rambling on, trying to trick me into filling the void in the family, I directly cut him off. "What makes you think that I, Emma, would ever be interested in a twice-divorced man with a criminal record who couldn't even get into college? Sam, you really are as self-absorbed as ever." I looked at him with an expression of complete indifference, my gaze as if I were staring at something filthy. In my past life, Sam had been a high and mighty professor. Belittling me had become second nature to him. But now, being on the receiving end of such contempt, he couldn't handle it. His face twisted in rage, his teeth clenched, and in an instant, he raised his hand, ready to slap me. "Emma, do you think I'm giving you too much face? In your past life, you were nothing more than an unkempt farm woman. How could you ever be worthy of me? You wasted half my life, and I even gave you a son and a daughter. Think carefully, because if you don't marry me in this life, your children will never be born." Ha! Those two ingrates who clung to Lisa? Who the hell cares? Before Sam's slap could land on my face, I had already kicked him hard right where it hurt the most. A blood-curdling scream burst from his throat as he clutched his lower body, curling up on the ground, writhing in agony. I didn't even spare him a glance. I turned around, went home, shut the door, clean and swift. But to my surprise, that very afternoon, Sam's mother showed up at my doorstep, dragging Sam and Elena along with her. "Emma, I know you've always liked our Sam. I've already told him to divorce that little slut Lisa. You're the only daughter-in-law I, an old woman, have ever acknowledged. Now that your college acceptance letter has arrived, it's a double celebration. Come out and set a date to finalize things with Sam." Sam's mother shouted at the top of her lungs, and within moments, a crowd had gathered outside my house to watch the drama unfold. One of the villagers scoffed. "Auntie, Emma is going to be a university student. How could she ever be interested in your son now? Stop embarrassing yourself here." Exactly. Exactly. The family of Sam thinks everyone else is stupid. Huh? Drowning in debt. Their reputation in the mud. Emma would have to be out of her mind to step into that pit. You all don't understand. Emma may look all prim and proper on the surface, but she's already been touched by my son. If she doesn't marry into our family, let's see which other family would still want her. A used pair of shoes. That's all. The moment those words dropped, the crowd erupted. Hearing this, my eldest brother couldn't hold back any longer. He grabbed a shovel, ready to smash Sam's mother's mouth into silence. I quickly held him back and reassured him. "Brother, don't rush. This is slander. The bigger the scene they make, the harder they'll cry when they're dragged away." Well said. I clapped my hands as I swung the door open. Everyone fell into stunned silence. Everyone heard what she just said. When the time comes, I hope you can all serve as witnesses. I, Emma, would never look twice at a useless man like Sam. Uncle, please go to the police station for me. This family is making up lies to latch onto me, completely disregarding my reputation. Every word she spoke just now was meant to force me into a dead end. If she can slander me today, she can slander someone else tomorrow. The moment those words left my mouth, the expressions of the onlookers changed. Yes, at first, this had nothing to do with them. But who didn't have a daughter at home? If Sam's mother could spread such vicious lies today, what if she turned her mouth on them tomorrow? In this era, ruining someone's reputation was no different from committing murder. My uncle, who was close to my family, had already dashed off to report the incident to the police. Seeing that I was serious about involving the authorities, a flicker of panic flashed across Sam's face, but it was quickly replaced by something far more sinister. Emma, drop the act. Call him back right now. What police? Do you think I don't know what kind of woman you are? I can prove that everything my mother said is true. Otherwise, how would I know that you have a crescent-shaped birthmark on your waist? The moment he said that, the way everyone looked at me changed. My parents' faces turned deathly pale. I clenched my fists tightly. Of course, Sam knew about my birthmark. He had memories from our past life. But in this life, we had nothing to do with each other. Now that he had said this in front of everyone, it was a fatal blow to my reputation. The only paths left for me were either death or marrying him. My nails dug into my palms. Why, in this life, even after staying far away from him, did he still cling to me like a leech? Even if he succeeded in forcing me into marriage, I would only send his entire family off with a bottle of rat poison. If they thought they could turn me into their servant again, they were dreaming. Chapter 13. In a flash of inspiration, something suddenly came to my mind. Sam, there is no birthmark on my waist at all. I suggest you confess the moment the police arrive. Or else. I stepped closer to Sam and whispered in a voice only the two of us could hear. That day in the back hills, I wasn't the only one who saw what happened. Roxana's husband didn't save you at all. It was you who deliberately got him killed. Sam's eyes widened in shock, his face instantly draining of color. So I was right. Roxana's husband never saved him. Most likely, Sam had pushed him toward the wild boar to save himself. Which meant that in my past life, my father must have been killed by him in the same way. At that thought, my hatred for Sam deepened. Unfortunately, I was bluffing. I had no witnesses. Otherwise, if I could expose this truth, his family wouldn't just be paying compensation, Sam would be facing a bullet. Sam must have realized this too. His expression shifted into pure guilt, and he no longer dared to meet my gaze. When the police arrived, Sam didn't even try to argue. He confessed immediately, with so many witnesses at the scene to confirm how he and his mother had slandered me. I pressed charges, and both of them were publicly paraded in shame before being sentenced to 6 months of labor at a farm. Still, my reputation had already been ruined by his family's lies. But I didn't care. I had long since given up on love. In this life, as long as I could give my family a better life and contribute to my country, that was enough. I scraped together my tuition fees by selling goods at a street stall. After completing my university studies, I pursued further education and later joined a research institute specializing in chip technology. 10 years later, I returned to Tupo village, and it had completely transformed. After I left for school, I handed over my street stall business to my eldest brother. I shared my earnings with him and told him about future economic policies. His business flourished, and he eventually established his own company. We bought several courtyard houses in Beijing before property prices skyrocketed and invested in stocks that multiplied in value. Over the years, we had long since achieved financial freedom. We donated money to the county, helping Tupo village build roads and bridges. Now, this place was nothing like it was 10 years ago. The country had grown strong, and everyone had enough to eat and new clothes to wear. In this life, I stayed away from romance and focused solely on my career, and I had no regrets.